So, all right, go ahead.
Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Am I audible, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Distinguished guests, respected scholars, policymakers, institutional leaders, partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon to you all. I am by the name Hayatuddin Muhammad Abdallah, and I will be serving as the moderator of this important event. I'm truly delighted, excited, and enthusiastic to welcome you to this special webinar commemorating the 2026 World Education Day. Therefore, on behalf of the organizers of this important program, I would like to appreciate everyone joining us today, both in person and online from many countries around the world. World Education Day gives us the opportunity to pause and reflect on the power of education. It reminds us that education is not just about classrooms and certificates, but about building better societies, creating opportunities, and shaping the future of our young people. Our theme for today, driving educational innovation and employability through African private universities, could not be more timely. So during this session, we are really privileged to have with us a distinguished panel of education leaders whose work continues to shape higher education across the continent. And these important personalities are Professor Adamu Abubakar Gwarzo, who is the convener and at the same time the president of the Association of African Private Universities. Also here, joining us is the Vice Chancellor of Hensard University, Nigeria, Professor Sudhakar Kota. Also among our participants here today is the Vice Chancellor of the International Open University, Gambia, who is Professor Cherno Omar Bali. Also here is Dr. Zubaida Ahmad Nagi, who is an educational psychologist from the Federal University of Education, Kano. Ladies and gentlemen, also in our midst today is Engineer Muftau Sanusi, the Director IT and Infrastructure, AAPU. Also here among our physical audience, we have Professor Abubakar Sadiq, who is the Director of the African Institute for Solutions, who is the Director,
Secretary General.
who is the Secretary General of the Association of African Private Universities. He's here with us. We also have the Director General Education, Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria, Dr. Abdullahi Inna. Also here in our midst is the Director of the African Institute for Solutions and Development, in the person of Dr. Salis Mahmoud. And we have the Head of International Office, Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria, Engineer Bashir Muhammad Garba.
Thank you.
We also have here among the online audience, Dr. Imran Ahmad from Uganda. Before we move to the next item on the agenda, permit me to invite Professor Abubakar Sadiq to give us the opening remarks. Thank you so much.
The President of the Association of African Private Universities and founder of and the president of my own group of universities, a very young scholar who has been very successful in his career, has established 4 private universities across African continent, and happens to be the pioneer president of the Association of African Private Universities and the convener of this event. The distinguished speakers here present, Professor Kota, Vice Chancellor of Hensard University in Nigeria. We have the former Vice Chancellor of the International Open University, who is also one of the discussants at this occasion, Professor Omar Bari, who is also the Secretary General of Senegalo-Gambia Pact, or how is it called?
Permanent Secretariat.
Yeah, Senegambia. Engineer Mukhtar and other distinguished scholars here with us. I welcome you all, our participants who have taken their time to join this. I want to, on behalf of the president of the Association of African Private University, who is unavoidably absent, he intended to be part of this program, but unfortunately, certain circumstances beyond his control came in to take over his attention. So he has asked me to make a presentation of a welcome address on his behalf as the Secretary General of the association. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you are most welcome to this very important day, the World Day of Education, where educational stakeholders converge to celebrate and share the very mission that binds us together as scholars. It is a very known fact that the world today can never be what it is without educational or innovation and, of course, employability. Institutions like universities are established to foster this mission of creating innovative ideas that can generate jobs for our teeming youths. Africa today have been found at a crossroad where this mission is becoming an illusion in many parts of African countries. The Association of African Private University, in its effort to bridge this gap, feels it's so important to look at or discussing this trend of revamping this sector to ensure that African youths are carried along in job creation, in innovative ideas, and of course, in contributing their quotas to the development of this world. And this is the mission for which we are here today. So without much occupying your time, and because we have a very erudite scholar who is going to handle this issue, I want to, on behalf of the president of the Association of African Private University, to welcome you all to this event and hope that you will take very good use of this opportunity to enrich yourself in the African context of innovation and employability and see how we can move ahead from this point we are today. I welcome you, and I hope that the scholar who is going to be the keynote speaker is going to do justice to this theme. And of course, there are very reputable discussants who will also contribute to ensuring that the discussion is given the right position it deserves. So thank you very much, and have a very good moment with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Abubakar Sadiq Haruna, for this wonderful introduction. Moving forward is the keynote address. And before then, I would like to introduce the personality who is going to handle the topic, driving educational innovation and employability.
I lost them. Is it me alone?
Not you alone, Prof. I cannot hear the speaker. Maybe I think there is an issue. with their network.
Yes.
I cannot hear you.
Okay,
I
can you hear me now?
Drop, I think.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes, yes, we can hear you now.
Okay,
All right. Oh, the concluding part by the
okay.
master of ceremony. I could not
moving
listen
forward-
to you.
Hello. Moving
Yes, sir.
forward, before I give the mic to the speaker, permit me, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to read briefly his citation. This personality who is going to speak to us about the topic driving educational innovation and employability through African private universities is an educationist who has served in the field of higher education for almost 41 years in various capacities. He held the responsibility of Vice Chancellor of Skyline University, Nigeria, and has established the complete operations by developing systems, processes, and procedures for all the functional departments. He keenly pursued quality assurance and academic quality enhancement in the university and has submitted documents to NUC for launching new programs and contributed towards the development of the university. His major goal was to empower faculty and staff for quality assurance practices and procedures and develop policies, handbooks, catalogs, and manuals for each department. He was a keen enthusiast in enhancing student learning, training faculty and staff towards academic excellence, and initiating programs for building the brand image of the university through promoting the university at various national and international forums. This personality is Professor Sudhakar Kota, and who is going to be our speaker. Can we please put hands together for him? So without wasting much of our time, I would like to hand over the mic to him for his presentation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much for welcoming me in such a wonderful manner. At the outset, let me thank the Secretary General, Professor Abu Bakr Sadiq, the African Association Private Universities Secretary General, to have invited me to be the keynote speaker for this occasion on the World Education Day.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I also thank the convener of this program, Professor Adamu Abu Bakr, for his continuous support to the field of education in Nigeria and in Africa in general. Then also Professor Cherno Omar, you're welcome, sir, and Dr. Zubaida Ahmed, and all the members on the dais and the members who are respected members who are participating in this event. May I thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this wonderful event, which not only opens our minds into thinking for the future of the private universities in Africa, how to build up that quality, how to build up and empower the students to be the future employees of the industry, and also the future entrepreneurs who may be providing jobs to hundreds and thousands of the youngsters who will be following in the due course of time. So the topic is a very challenging one to me, and I think it's challenging to others too. It's driving educational innovation and employment through African private universities. Yes, can we have the next slide, please? Yeah, I will do that. Yeah. The focus of the webinar, which I'm trying to outline here, is just the first slide is the abbreviations that I've used here, and then goes on with understanding the essence of education, that is bifurcating or splitting the topic into the various components that it has, the essence of education, understanding, innovation, and then lessons we can draw from the various developing countries, how innovation is permitted or rather created in the schools of learning, especially the universities, how the opportunities are given and what they do about. So let's learn some lessons from there. And then it is strategies for driving educational innovation in the private universities with special reference to Africa. I am not dwelling into the other parts of the world because they are much way ahead of us, but I'm just trying to refer what we can do to be a part of the innovational journey. An integrative approach by industry and academia for developing employable skills. So what we need to do there. And also we are looking for the education quality, how we can use quality as a tool in academia for developing the employable skills among the students. Generally, it is believed, like I was in one of the lectures where Narayan Murthy, the CEO of Infosys, he was addressing the engineering students. So one of the students has asked him a question: how can we get employment? So his answer was very simple. He says, all of you are qualified, you have qualifications, but you do not have employable skills. So we need to provide that employable skills to the students, which will make them capable of being contributors to the industry and having the right components of knowledge, components of skills, components of acumen, that is competencies, the others life skills which are necessary for being employable, and also to start their own enterprises. Challenges in educational systems that we face in Africa. I'm sure each one of us are well aware of it, that what are the limitations that we have and to what extent we are facing the issues relating to be it funding, be it infrastructure, be it the quality of students coming in, be it the teaching part of it. And there are also a whole lot of issues that we need to tackle here. I may not be able to touch upon all of them, but surely few of the areas that we can look into and how we can address them. Then the other area is this creating competitive edge. And this is where private universities would be recognized as the leaders of a country who can provide the students or the human resources who are capable of being the best of employees, the best of entrepreneurs, and help in the nation building. And the futuristic outlook that the private universities need to have. Some of the abbreviations as we go by, you can have a look at it. There's nothing great about it, but you can just refer to it whenever you need them. And I was just looking back to the essence of education. What is education? Education has always been, in the past centuries, if you go by, has been a holistic learning. It has never been compartmentalized. But nowadays, what we find is most of the academic systems that we are following, especially after the mass education policies that have been adopted by countries across the world, especially under the influence of the colonial pasts, the imperialists who were with us, who ruled us, they had education as a tool to serve them. Unfortunately, even today, most of the countries across the world do follow the very same patterns without much change, which is brought into their academic system, suitable for their own countries, for their progress, for their development. So therefore, this area, we are still continuing, but we try to find some um, benefits, some advantages, some opportunities to improve upon them as we go by. And also we find that because it's a mass education, the government alone does not have sufficient funds to reach out to the far-flung areas and to all the learners or incumbents to the universities. So therefore, the role of private universities becomes very, very important to reach out to the communities, mostly to provide learning to all as a common factor so that the talents that are hidden, the talents which are underlying, the latent talents can be brought out and they can be useful for building the nation in as many ways as it is possible, be it in social sector, be it in technological sectors, and be in health sectors, or be it in governance, wherever it could be. There is a possibility of coming out with good leadership individuals who would be, when they have a right kind of opportunities to learn and explore the opportunities with them. One of the things which I always come to here in Nigeria is there's a wide gap between the JAM qualifiers and the admissions to HEIs, that is higher education institutions. This also calls for a very, very high need for the private universities to be launched, to be started in these countries. And same thing happens, I believe, in the other parts of the world too, especially in the African part. So it is very, very important for us to look into how now the private universities can generate that kind of human resources who can be a very valuable resource for the building the nation and enhance the national prosperity. I understand one thing, that is innovation. Now, when we come to innovation as such, the very at the very beginning, when I was doing my economics, we used to learn about Joseph Schumpeter, an economist from Austria. Later, he moved to US. He's the first person to have recognized the concept of innovation and entrepreneurship. For a simple reason, all the industries with a high level of competitive market environment, they cannot simply be in the supply side of the market, produce mass products, and reach out to the customers. They can survive. No, they need to come out with new thoughts, new ideas, new ways of manufacturing. So he introduced the concept of this innovation and entrepreneurs. According to him, he says the innovation is in various forms. First is the ways of production, and very much it is applicable to our academic industry also. If you take universities, our target segment is our students. They are our ambassadors. They are the carriers of the knowledge that we are imparting in this. What are the different ways of creating new programs, creating new courses, new experimentation opportunities that comes under the production? And the new products will be enhancing the existing ones according to the changes in the markets, the needs in the industry, the needs in the society, the needs in the community development areas are the sources for us to create new avenues of learning, avenues of universities, avenues of departments, avenues of faculties and products. That's what we call them as products. And the new forms of organization is we need to have specialized areas of universities. It is a generic university is one, and you can have specialized universities which focus on one thing for the development purpose. So there are many such universities. If I want to name one is Indian Institute of Sciences in Bangalore. It only talks about sciences, and they have done wonderful contributions to the tech areas. Similarly, if you go to IITs, you find the same. IIMs, if you go, you find the same things. They're very focused on one particular area, but what they contribute and develop is something amazing. So what we need is for an entrepreneur, for an innovator, it requires for him the skills and the daring. So any innovator that we talk about or any entrepreneur that we talk about, simply having skills is not sufficient enough. They should have the risk-taking ability, the risk-taking capacity. That's what he calls it as daring, as much as the process of inventions. The role of entrepreneurs, as he says, is a creative destruction. You may wonder, we talk about innovations, but why this creative destruction? If you have read Derrida, he says construction, destruction, and reconstruction. This is the cycle. That means any point of a time, whatever is created, whatever is constructed, whatever is developed has to have an end, and that is destruction, disruptive. And then you go to the next level. After destruction, you reconstruct once again with the new features, with the new options, with new developments. And this is well practiced in the industry. If you see some of the companies like Toyota, you see iPhones, you see any of these products, what we observe is the lifespan of their products is limited. Maybe within a year or 2 or 3, you find the old versions are out. That means they are destroyed, which have been created, and they come out with new products which are entirely with new options, new features, and maybe sometimes it's a disruptive technology which is brought into it. Same way in the academia, lingering on the same kind of a syllabi, same kind of a practices that we are following continuously over the years will not give that generative scope. What we need to do is, from the lessons of what we learned in the past, maybe our own teaching methodologies, our own syllabuses, our own content has to be revised, re-looked into, and also improvised, not in a haphazard manner, but looking at the needs of the society. Therefore, the need for inclusive approach or collaborating with the industry, with the society, with the peers, with our competitors is as much essential for us to be a part of this creative destruction in academia and create that new opportunities of learning. Sometimes we also find, that's why students question us, why do I need to learn this? How does it help me? Honestly speaking, we don't have much answers to say other than this is the syllabus you have to learn. But in true sense, if you look at it, yes, there is a scope. within the same syllabi, we always can create this new, add new components into it and give them an opportunity to get that enthusiasm, that curiosity, that inquisitiveness to learn new things while they move into their academic careers. So therefore, Schumpeter again says the four pillars of innovation are four C's. One is the context. What is the context? The society where we are living. That's the context for us. That's the market for us. That's the people around us, the community, the nation. That becomes a context. The culture. The culture is one way if you look at what kind of a culture are we providing in our universities. Is there a need for a change in that culture? Is a continuous learning that we need to do. The culture, the capabilities, the capacities. Do we have enough manpower? Do we have enough technology? Do we have sufficient funds and the infrastructure and the environment which is capable of, creating that kind of innovative environment within our context that we have? And finally, collaboration. Private universities by themselves may be competing with each other for enrolling students. But if you look at a larger picture, enrollment is not the whole soul for a private university. For them, the objectives are very clear. If you look at the vision and the missions of all the private universities, it is very massive. It is very ambitious. Now, the question that comes to us is, can we not achieve this through collaboration? Can we achieve this all by ourselves? Are the two questions that we need to always answer. I'm sure collaborations do help us in achieving our goals and also helping others to achieve their visions. Otherwise, we'll be in silos, we'll be, with our all limitations, would not be able to do justice to the vision and the missions that we carry forward with. Coming to another area, I'm trying to link up what Joseph Schumpeter has said with our academy. And as we move on, we will find some of the inputs that are there. The 7 sources of innovation. The first one is unexpected incongruities. The second one is process needs. The third one is industry and market changes. Then demographic changes. Changes in perception and new knowledge. We can very well see this nowadays. Most of the universities are adopting to the new tech way of teaching the students. Robots being used to teach in some of the countries. Some of the classrooms, teachers are replaced by the robots. How far that is right, wrong, we are not going into the ethical part of it. But what I'm trying to say is the changes which are taking place in the society are the drivers for innovation. The question here is, how much of these changes are we observing? Therefore, there is a very critical need for the universities to have a research unit which explores, which evaluates the environment. In business terms, we call it business environment. We here call it as a macro environment and the micro environment, which brings about a lot of changes. And these changes we need to note, we need to keep track of them. And based on that, we need to make our strategies, the strategies for the future. Okay, next 5 years, next 3 years, next 2 years, what is it that we need to do to incorporate these changes? Foresee the future. unless we foresee the future, we will not be able to adapt to the needs of the society. So these important concepts which I just want to narrate to you, and that's the reason why we come to this part, need for innovation. I was just watching reading one news item, and this is what is done by Ukraine. Just recently, their war with Russia. They were unable to, bring down the missiles which are being shot by Russians. So they threw a challenge to its public. Anybody who can come out with drones which can shoot down these missiles, they are ready to pay $20,000. And believe me, there were 45 companies which came up who are ready to supply these kind of technological inputs for them. So what I'm trying to put across here is the need for innovation comes when we are able to identify our problems, our issues, our societal needs in much more clear manner. We expect our students to do this. And from that, as we say, necessity is the mother of invention. So any need that we can identify with clarity, obviously we will go for this, we search for those solutions. And these solutions are the ones which brings in innovation. So as academics, academic institutions, or private institutions, there is a high need for researching out on the changing needs in the society and trying to find out a lot of solutions. I was just was reading way back when some of the missiles were being shot at in Israel. So they were hooters. There's big sirens. But one of the young boy who was sitting in a room, he could not understand or he could not hear the sirens. That generated a thought in him. What is it for a people like me or the old men who cannot move out, but they want to know? So he devised a software, a mobile app. The moment those sirens ring, the mobile starts vibrating. And he introduced that, and that was something kind like what we are talking about. That he felt the need, and to solve that need, he created that app. So therefore, need for innovation always comes through this kind of recognition of the need, which I think every one of us, it's a matter of training. It's a matter of giving that opportunities for our students to help them, be a critical thinker. To make him critical thinker, we cannot do it just by one assignment, no, or by teaching him. We need to continuously follow up with giving him opportunities to do so. Now, the third component which we have is employability. So employability as such has a very wide connotation. It is not only a job, it includes self-employment, entrepreneurship, and also resource utilization in a more rational manner. So let's try to integrate all of these concepts which we just understood into how it has been practiced in some of the developing countries. I was going through some information search. I found this successful universities across the world. This educational innovation, how do they practice? the most important thing they do is they encourage innovation. How do they encourage innovation? As they give opportunities for the students, they provide the facilities, they equip them with the capabilities, they bring in experts from different parts of the world to encourage them or give them the inputs to have that enthusiasm to search for some new things. And they also allow, apart from the traditional way of, marking guidelines or having a very structured answers for all the questions. No, they allow innovative thought processes in their learning activities. Universities provide opportunities for mastering creative thinking, critical thinking, practical problem solvings across programs. It's not limited to technology area. It can be in social sciences, it can be in arts, it can be in medical fields, it can be in anywhere else. The most important thing is we need to encourage interdisciplinary knowledge sharing. Focusing them on one particular discipline will limit their mindsets. You need to allow them to cross over the different disciplines. So as faculty members, as universities, there should be some component, some weightage given to the interdisciplinary knowledge development, both as part of teaching and as part of examining the students. I believe, I was just understanding from my staff that NUC allows 30% of the syllabus the private universities can add on into their the syllabus which is given by them. That is the CC Mass. Apart from that, 30% can be added. I think that leverage, if I am correct or my understanding is correct, we can use that leverage to add on this new concepts of disciplinary knowledge, interdisciplinary knowledge to be imparted to the students, so that we can see that holistic learning takes place among the students. And it is believed that graduates with appropriate education, it leads to successful employees who further develop new ideas, solving new societal problems, and look for creative solutions. Herein, we also notice that every culture has a typical way of solving the problems. Therefore, a need for cultural integration is essential. Therefore, it is important to have cross-country or across the nations, the experts, the faculty members, student interactions must be encouraged so that new ways of solving the problems will be available. The reasons why we find America is one of the countries where you find a lot of innovations takes place. If you look at their composition, that country has got a whole lot of cultural integration from various parts of the world who have settled down there. And in many other parts, you find monocultures are observed very strongly. So therefore, ways of solving things also become stereotypes in many cases. Therefore, it is an important aspect for us to learn. And as private universities, we have the flexibility of reaching out to, internationally recognized experts in various fields to bring in these aspects. And also the lifelong learning skills is what we should encourage students to, believe in and practice. The reason for that is there are many areas that I've seen. Short courses are there, certification programs are there, and there are
Hello. So sorry, sir, for this distraction. I would like to tell you that you have 7 more minutes for your presentation. So sorry for this distractions. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let me just quickly run through some of the areas then, okay? Yeah, so let me just go back to my strategic part. This is one of the areas that I find that the problems in the African area, 86 to 90% of their employment opportunities are in the informal sector, not in the formal sector. So therefore, it is important for us to understand the scope for enterprise and innovations are very much possible according to the data that I could see here in Nigeria also. You find that the literacy rate is very high, but the employment rate is informal sector is almost 92%, whereas employment in the working formal sector is only 7.3%. So therefore, you always would see that the areas of agriculture, areas of technology, health, we can always find for self-employment opportunities. Now, these are some of the things which most of you would know in Nigeria, so I will not go by this. Let me just go to my, strategy for driving educational innovation and employability. How we can do this? One is curriculum integration, industry collaboration, skill-based learning, teacher empowerment, then assessment reforms, fostering culture of innovation, leveraging technology, and this is what is the strategy for driving educational innovation. The curriculum integration, if I would just explain a little bit of it, is how we can do this. We need to create committees, or we need to create some kind of association with the industry people, because they can always be a part of our curriculum development. They can add value to the curriculum development that we practice in our universities. And also, all of the universities do practice. There's industry collaborations in terms of internship with the students, but that internship should be more practical oriented rather than just for a certificate purpose. And every university is required to have some skill-based centers of excellence, not only in academics, but these centers of excellence also needs to have the skill-based centers, because if you allow the students not only to graduate with the degree, along with that one certificate if he can have, or one skill that he can develop for himself. It could be anything. It could be his passion of music. It could be his dance. It could be his, creative writing, arts. Let it be anything. Another skill, if you add to his academic profile, it'll always be that it triggers his innovative skills and thought processes. So a realistic industry collaboration is this: apprenticeships, internships, industry design project works, incubator programs, and reviews and enhancing learning environment. This where I said it's not just for the sake of certificate, but it needs to have very critically the practical side of it. Let me just move on to the next one. Yes, this is where I'll focus on. If you really want the African country to be in the forefront of providing employment, or the universities to provide the innovation and employable students, it is important for the universities to network with the African diaspora. There are a large number of individuals who are from Africa across the world doing well in their respective professions. If we can collaborate with them, it can begin with our own students, their alumni, and then extend to the diaspora, seek their expertise in terms of academic enhancements, and also in the innovation, entrepreneurship skills, managerial skills, governance skills, we can learn from them. So industries, if you are able to collaborate with them, find the opportunities to do so, it'll be a good thing. Now, as the African Private Universities Association, our role would be very, very important. That is, enabling this kind of, in all our forums, if we allow the private entrepreneurs, private universities, and also the diaspora to be part of our forums, that will help us to share their knowledge and understand them well and improvise our own areas of which requires our attention. So this is very, very important. And also we need to benchmark with the international universities. So our association can always look into these aspects. I'll share this to the Secretary General. I think you can have in details, and if you have further questions, you can approach me. I can always be a part of it. So networking with the startups. The second aspect is networking with the startups. Most of us know you innovate, be an innovator, be an entrepreneur. You will never know things unless and until you network with the startups. So our African Association of Private Universities should also look into how to collaborate with the startups so that we can get them into our association and help the universities to have that kind of triggering points for our students. Now coming to, let me just come down to some examples I'm skipping. Yeah, this is one area, strategy for African private universities for creating innovation and employability ethos in the region. One is create your alumni database, networking with African diaspora, engaging them for strategic directions, then collaborating with diaspora for venture capital funding, collaborating with diaspora for building information on employability opportunities across the world, seeking funding and research projects for private universities, then creating centers of excellence to facilitate research and building knowledge capacity in Africa. You have not given me sufficient time though. Then we have another area. Let me quickly run through that part. I was just going through one data where we find 20 such startups in Nigeria we have. They say almost 60% of them are only in the fintech area. And the second biggest one is the energy sector. Apart from that, there are no much startups which have been there in this part. So there is a scope for other areas. Yeah. Now this is one of the, this is one area where we need to empower our students with the adequate decision-making skills. The reason for that is without which they would not be able to choose the right kind of startups. So therefore, not only they have the capabilities of analyzing the environment, identifying the key areas, but also to choose rightly which one to go by. Then the challenges which are there for the African education system. One is access to education is a limitation. Then shortage of teachers, quality teachers, relevance of curriculum. So this needs to be addressed by us. Then cultural barriers, health and nutrition, digital divide. These are some of the challenges which Africa in general, I'm not referring to a particular country. Some countries may be doing, like in Nigeria, we find that things are in better shape. South Africa, things are in better shape. Similarly, in Ghana, things are better in shape. But there are some areas where you find that there is an urgent need for these areas to be looked into. And how do we overcome these challenges? It is one way is forming private universities associations. As a group, if you try to address the issues, there are a lot of things which can be done, whether in terms of research, in terms of funding, in terms of sharing knowledge, in terms of creating the competitive edge which is required for innovations. We can do it, provided a collaborative approach among the private universities is adopted. That's what the competitive edge is all about. Now, to create this competitive edge among the students, the most important thing which I would focus on here is trigger the child in every student. Trigger the child in every faculty member. Now, what do you mean by a child? If some of you have understood the ego states, each one of us have this ego states within us, the child, the parent, and the adult, of which child is the one which is creative, which is innovative, which is energetic, which is enthusiastic, and which always looks for solutions in a very different manner. The way we look at things, a child doesn't look at. So therefore, it is important to trigger that child if you want an innovator to be there in your universities. Now, how do you do that? There's a different process, of course, altogether, but try and trigger that child in every student and every faculty member to be that, to keep their curiosity alive, to keep their inquisitive alive, to keep their enthusiasm and passion to be alive. You need to have that child in you to be active always. And then, as I said in the beginning, holistic approach is what we need to take to give that competitive edge to our students, without which we will be very much limiting them. So challenge your students through complex problems and pressurize them to find solution within the time frame. Why I am mentioning this? A recent study by Harvard, they found that most of the CEOs in America are Indians, and they are coming from, in the tech areas, they are coming from the well-known institutions, that is IITs and IIMs of India. Now they understood what is it that they are doing. They came out with the conclusion that because number one is the preparation for the qualifying exam is millions of people attempt and only few hundreds get the entry into those recognized institutes. Number one. Number two, the teaching methodology. They may be learning the same things as we are learning, but the approach is different there. What they do is they make them come out with the solutions in a very limited time frames, and they are given challenging, what you call, assignments. And these challenging assignments to be worked out in groups, not individually, And this group activities contains complex problems, but they need to find within a time frame. Few hours or not even a day or two. So this makes them the thinkers even under stressful conditions. So a good CEO, a good employee, if he's able to come out with solutions under stressful conditions, is when a successful employee, a successful entrepreneur, a successful innovator, we can find them. So this is an important lesson for private universities for us to learn, is give them the complex problems, pressurize them to find solutions within the time frame. If they do not qualify, please do not give them pass grades. Let them struggle to earn grades. If you do not make them struggle just for the sake of enrollments, it's not a good habit. We will never be able to create innovators and entrepreneurs that will remain in our books, that will remain in our vision, that will remain in our mission, but never it will help to generate the kind of citizens that we aspire for, we look forward for, to build the nation, especially the African region. So thank you for listening. I think I've closed within the time frame as indicated to me. I missed out many points. These things will be handed over. I'll send this copy to the Secretary General of this association so that you can anytime back to me for
Thank you so much, sir, for this extensive, explorative, and inciting presentation. As predicted by Professor Abubakar Sadiq earlier, that this presentation is very educative, and the speaker has really done justice to this topic. Personally, for me, I really can't imagine a presentation and an intellectual discussion that is more deserving of our round of applause than this one. Can we please put hands together for him? Sir, your presentation has really opened door for discussions. And as earlier mentioned, we are going to have 3 discussants for this presentation. And the first discussant is Professor Chamo Umar Bari, who is the Deputy Executive Secretary and former Vice Chancellor of International Open University, Gambia. And he is going to have 10 minutes for his discussion. If Professor Bari is here, you have the mic. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let me see if I can be able to get my presentation slides up. I'm trying to get my slides up. I don't know how to do that now. Okay. So thank you very much. I'm really pleased to be invited by the organizers to join to this wonderful discussion on the topic driving educational innovation and employability through African private universities. I begin by thanking our very able and distinguished colleague, Vice Chancellor, who have just presented wonderful keynotes, and also to my colleagues and friends who are also here joining us, and to the distinguished organizers. Now, without much ado, knowing the time limitation I have, let me just begin quickly by acknowledging, as I said, and then this question, driving educational innovation and employability through African private universities, is not an abstract one. It is a daily struggle playing out in lecture halls, accreditation meetings, job queues, and increasingly on WhatsApp groups where graduates ask each other a painful question: any vacancy? As a discussant, I want to slightly reframe the issue. The real question may not be whether African private universities are innovating, but whether they are innovating fast enough or merely surviving. In many of our countries, degrees are multiplying faster than decent jobs. We are producing graduates who are academically certified, yet economically stranded. As one African youth once joked rather darkly, I have three certificates and one CV, but no job. The laughter hides a structural failure. So the question now is, what is this educational innovation? First of all, let us look at the concepts for clarification. Educational innovation in this context must go beyond installing learning management systems or offering Zoom lectures. It refers to intentional systemic changes on how universities design curricula, deliver learning, assess competence, and connect learning to real economic activity. This includes hybrids and distance learning models, micro-credentials, competency-based education, industry-embedded curricula, and the responsible integration of AI in teaching and assessment. And then the issue of employability. Employability, likewise, cannot be reduced to immediate job placement. The International Labour Organization, for example, defines employability as a combination of skills, knowledge, adaptability, and the capacity for lifelong learning that enables individuals to gain and maintain employment or self-employment. In the African context, where formal jobs are scarce, employability must explicitly include entrepreneurship, self-employment, and resilience in informal and hybrid economies. So to further discuss this, let's look at the context of tertiary and higher education in sub-Saharan Africa. We all know that sub-Saharan Africa remains the least served region globally in tertiary and higher education, despite having the world's youngest and fastest growing population. According to the World Bank, the region's gross tertiary enrollment ratio is below 10%, compared to a global average exceeding 35% and over 50% in high-income countries. This places sub-Saharan Africa at the bottom of the global higher education participation scale. While access has expanded over the last 2 decades, driven largely by private universities and non-state providers, growth has been uneven and often unaccompanied by adequate investment in quality research, capacity, academic staffing, and infrastructure. Public universities alone have been unable to absorb demand, making private institutions central to expansion, diversification, and innovation in delivery. From a global perspective, we know that UNESCO notes that sub-Saharan Africa faces a dual challenge in higher education, where we have low participation rates and weak alignment between university programs and labor market needs. In sum, on the world map of higher education, sub-Saharan Africa is characterized by high demand, low participation, rapid private sector growth, and urgent employability pressures. This context positions African private universities not as peripheral actors, but as critical engines for expanding access, piloting innovation, and improving graduate outcomes, if quality, relevance, and regulation evolve in tandem. So now, in rethinking employability, now we ask ourselves, what is the promise of African private universities? Private universities occupy a paradoxical position in African higher education systems. On the promise side, they are often, 1, more flexible and responsive than public universities. 2, they are faster in introducing new programs. 3, they are willing to experiment with online, blended, and modular delivery, and better positioned to form industry and international partnership. Evidence from the World Bank shows that private institutions have been central to expanding access to higher education across sub-Saharan Africa, especially where public capacity is constrained. Yet the reality is more sobering. We have persistent global assurance and perception challenges, over-regulations in some contexts and under-regulation in others, limited research capacity, heavy reliance on tuition, making innovation financially risky. This creates a regulatory tension. Governments often distrust private universities, yet rely on them to absorb growing demand. Accreditation processes sometimes reward compliance over creativity, discouraging experimentation with new credential models or industry-linked programs. To go further, we now ask ourselves, evidence-based insights. Recent global and African studies have shown that the following three uncomfortable truths. First, skills mismatch remain acute. The African Development Bank notes that employers across Africa consistently report gaps in soft skills, digital skills, and applied problem solving, even among university graduates. Second, graduate unemployment and underemployment are structural, not cyclical. According to the ILO, young graduates in sub-Saharan Africa are more likely to be unemployed than non-graduates in some labor markets, reflecting limited absorptive capacity of formal economies. Third, digital learning works when done well. UNESCO's Global Education Monitoring Report cautions that technology alone does not improve learning outcomes. Gains are observed only when digital tools are paired with sound pedagogy, trained instructors, and learner support systems. Now, let me just give you a quick sharing of the Gambia and IOU. From the Gambian experience and my own tenure in private university leadership, three lessons stand out. First, distance and hybrid learning are no longer optional. In a small economy like the Gambia, scale and affordability depend on flexible delivery. However, distance education only succeeds when institutions invest seriously in academic support, assessment integrity, and staff capacity. Where we treated it as a strategic model, it worked. Where it was treated as cost-saving shortcut, it failed. Second, teacher education remains the most strategic employability intervention. Aligning teacher training with national curriculum reforms and classroom realities yields immediate labor market relevance. In this area, private universities can complement public institutions rather than compete with them. Third, accreditation can be both a gatekeeper and an enabler. Where regulators engage as partners, innovation flourishes. Where accreditation is rigid and input-focused, institutions become risk-averse. Some of our most scalable innovations succeeded only after sustained dialogue with quality assurance authorities. So to continue, let's look at what worked and what failed. Across Africa, evidence points to 4 pathways that deliver results. 1, industry-linked curriculum design. Programs co-designed with employers, particularly in ICT, education, health, and business, produce graduates with clearer career trajectories. This was justified by the World Bank report in 2023. 2, work-integrated learning. Internships, practicums, and service learning must be structured and assessed, not treated as informal add-ons. 3, stakeable credentials and short courses. Micro-credentials allow learners to upskill without committing to long degree programs, a model increasingly endorsed by UNESCO and the OECD. And 4, entrepreneurship ecosystems. Teaching entrepreneurship without access to mentorship, finance, and incubation is ineffective. Private universities that partner with local business ecosystems show better graduate self-employment outcomes. Now let's move on to the issues of policy. Quickly, government should stop treating private universities as temporary solutions or necessary evils. They are permanent actors and must be integrated into national skills and employment strategies. Regulators should enable innovation by shifting from input-based accreditation to outcomes-based quality assurance, allowing experimentation with new credentials and delivery models. So private universities must urgently reform by investing in staff development, not just infrastructure, embedding employability outcomes into program design, using data on graduate outcomes to drive curriculum revision. And this is innovation without evidence. And innovation without evidence is enthusiasm. Employability without reform is rhetoric. So to close quickly my intervention here, let me just give us a reminder from the economist Albert Hirschman, who observed that development is not about grand plans, but about solving pressing problems one by one. African private universities will not solve unemployment alone, but they can stop pretending that producing degrees is enough. So I leave us with a question worth sitting with. If our graduates are unemployed, is it because they are unemployable, or because we have not redesigned universities for the economies we actually have, not the ones we wish for? The answer to that question will determine whether private universities remain survival institutions or become true engines of African transformation. Thank you very much.
An intellectual discussion. Thank you so much, sir, for this powerful, rich, and impactful intellectual discussion from Mr. Chamo Omar Bali. We really appreciate Professor Chamo Omar Bali. We really appreciate your contribution. We are really grateful for this. And we have to thank the speaker first, who set the stage for this cross-fertilization of ideas. Then moving forward, the next discussant will be Dr. Zubaida Ahmad Nagi, and last discussant will be Engineer Muftau Sanusi. And we have also in our present online, Professor Raji Shakar from Ethiopia. He will also be part of the contributors. I would like to now give the mic to another erudite scholar, Dr. Zubaida Ahmad, for her discussion. Thank you so much, ma. Hear you. Unmute. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
We can't.
But it's loud and clear.
We can't be louder.
That's what you go on. Loud and clear.
Hello, can you please unmute yourself, Doctor? We can't hear you now.
What about now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Now it is clear, madam. You can continue. It's clear now.
Okay. I'm honored to be part of this discussion and very memorable event to commemorate World Education Day 2026, a day that reminds us of the transformative power of education and our collective responsibility to shape its future. Now, summing up the past presentations, the theme, driving educational innovation and employability through African private universities, has been carefully chosen to align with this year's theme, which is the power of youth in co-creating education. This speaks directly to one of the most urgent challenges facing higher education in Africa, which is how to ensure that education is not only accessible and of high quality, but also relevant to the realities of a rapidly changing world, empowering the youth to be fully involved in shaping the curricula and the policies that prepare them for the 21st century workforce. African private universities as partners in education have emerged as vital partners. Through flexibility, responsiveness, and a willingness to innovate, private universities are uniquely positioned to pilot new teaching models as has been identified, integrate technology into learning, and collaborate closely with industry. In doing so, they help bridge the long-standing gap between academic knowledge and labor market needs. Coming to the first component, which is educational innovation. Educational innovation has been identified as vital and must go beyond just digital tools alone, but it must include curriculum redesign, as the first presenter noted, experiential learning, entrepreneurship education, and interdisciplinary studies. Stronger industry partnerships. Our graduates must leave our institutions not only with certificates, but with skills, adaptability, ethical grounding, and confidence to contribute meaningfully to society. Employability, which is the second component, is we need to produce, or the African private university needs to produce graduates capable of getting and keeping fulfilling jobs. It's a shared responsibility. Employability is having a set of skills, knowledge, understanding, and personal abilities. Universities or African private universities must align programs with these societal needs. Government must also provide enabling policies, because we have seen policy gaps in some states. Industries must engage with the academia, not to work separately, and students themselves must embrace lifelong learning. When these elements work together, education becomes a powerful engine for academic growth, social development, and innovation. Here, all of us as professors, educators, teachers, and the larger community, our role is central. We are mentors, we are researchers, and we are custodians of knowledge. We must continuously update our methods as teachers, encourage critical thinking, and inspire our students to become problem solvers rather than job seekers alone. In conclusion, Africa's private universities must have the opportunity, as African private universities, we have the opportunity to lead by example and demonstrate how motivation can be translated into impact. On this World Education Day, let us affirm our commitment to an education system that empowers African youth, strengthen employability, and support sustainable development across the continent. I have a little observation that I need to. Earlier, the first speaker raised the issue of literacy rates in Africa, particularly in Nigeria. Literacy rates have risen, they are high, but then employability is low, especially in the formal sector. Now, what I have to say here is that employability is higher in the informal sector, because I think the women occupy these spaces, and women, we all know, are about 50% of the population. So if 50% of the population are in the informal sector, that is the reason for this. Now, what is the reason for women being employed in the informal sector? Most of them is because they lack accessibility, they lack access to education. Because even with the progress in primary education in most parts of Africa, there are still pockets of inaccessibility and inequality to women when it comes to secondary and tertiary education. So we might need to look at this, and we might need to look at to advise private universities to do something particularly with access to education. But there is a problem. Private universities are very expensive because they depend on students' tuition. And because of this expensiveness, there is low enrollment. Now, what can the private universities do to encourage women education, especially where this enrollment of women and access is low. So I will leave you with this, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zubaida, for being so precise and keeping to the time. And we really thank you for your contribution to this discussion. Thank you so much. The next discussant is Engineer Muftau Sanusi, who is the Director, IT and Infrastructure, AAPU. So I will give the mic to Engineer Muftau. Thank you so much, sir. Engineer Muftau. Engineer Muftau, are you there?
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you from here. I think you need to unmute your mic.
How about now? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you very much, and apologies for the sound issue. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present on this World Education Day 2026. I'm very humble and honored to be amongst very senior academics, and also to play a part as a discussant in this very important topic that we are discussing in terms of innovation and employability on the graduates that we produce. My discussion is really about building digital-first African private universities. Professor Barry has mentioned quite a lot when it comes to, technology and how it can play, and also the different learning models in the education. But of course, what I really wanted to touch on is why infrastructure matters today. Education has changed, as we all know. Since COVID, we've adopted newer ways of learning, with a lot of lectures happening online. We're having this seminar online. But the key important points really is, learning is now digital first globally, hybrid, and also skills oriented. As the discussants also clearly mentioned, employers demand, digital competence, and also, universities without modern infrastructure do fall behind. And also, if you look at, our current private universities, we do have limitations when it comes to connectivity, which of course restrict access to resources. Manual processes can be inefficient, which also can cause errors. Some of our systems are fragmented. It hinders, data sharing amongst ourselves. Another key important thing globally now is cybersecurity. Unfortunately, if you look at, I think Africa, about most of the vulnerabilities when it comes to the higher education sectors, most of the universities within Africa are, rank higher when it comes to cybersecurity weaknesses, and of course, risk data breaches. And unfortunately, we also do have low industry integrations, as the discussants has clearly, and also the keynote speakers clearly mentioned this in their presentation. And of course, true transformation requires a digital ecosystem, and not just us having universities with just basic Wi-Fi and computers. Modern day universities, would have smart campuses. In terms of solving the issues of cybersecurity, identity management. We have, in order to protect, for data protection is very, very key. So, protecting our digital assets, our users and identities. We live in a day that, data is very, very important and expensive. We have companies, AI companies, big multinational companies, training on data from, by scraping data over the internet, we also don't want to fall within the tracks of, you know, we need to protect the identities of not just our professors, our students, and of course the industries we work with. And if you look at the current modern universities, of course, cloud and data systems, they offer, you know, secure and scalable data storages. Academic digital platforms also do, of course, provide digital tools, provide digital tools, and of course, they support in learning and teaching and administration. And of course, smarter connectivity infrastructure really ensures digital access communication across, you know, different campuses. So looking at, you know, innovation itself, you know, we look at how building a strong infrastructure can, you know, enable stronger innovation. And, you know, you look at virtual classes, digital libraries, which I believe quite a lot of universities, and Mr. Barry really mentioned about AI tools, but not just AI tools, responsible AI tools can really, you know, lead to stronger innovations within our university. Virtual labs as well, you know, some of the equipment can be quite expensive, and also perhaps maybe even being in Africa, accessible to some equipment or some techniques may be difficult, but of course with virtual labs, it can really help, you know, promote innovation in Africa. Of course, remote collaboration, what we are doing really, I'm sitting in Ghana on a special assignment, but I'm able to collaborate on this very serious topic and day with, you know, and we have, you know, modern ways that, you know, collaborating globally or collaborating remotely, whether within, for example, Nigeria or outside or within Africa. And so you look at how infrastructure really would drive employability, you know, looking at from campus to career, you know, and you can see the example of just sowing the seed that, you know, having a strong infrastructure campus, you know, where students can gain industry software exposure, industry skills, you know, they can build digital portfolios, of course, and also gain certifications within this area. And in turn can match them, you know, with industry to do internships, you know, where they can find opportunities, not just local, but outside. And of course, we can also look at the startup and incubation. You know, our Professor Barry did mention, and of course, our keynote speaker, so I did mention, of course, when it comes to the tech space, having our students to be able to create solutions to solve our problems locally. And also with what Dr. Zubaydah did mention, while we do have a lot of people in our economies working in the informal sector, you know, the students that we are creating can create, or the students that we are graduating can create software solutions, they can create technological solutions that can work hand in hand with an also called higher education or people, highly educated individuals or people within the non-formal sector. And of course, also, you know, with the startups that students build, you know, they can work remotely, or it makes them ready globally. While we are struggling in terms of some gaps with employment within Africa, it can situate them to find remote work outside of the country. And we've seen examples of some of even our students in Kano, for example, and also some graduates really working for big international companies. You know, they need is Starlink, and they are doing brand designing, they're doing, you know, developing software, front end, back end, and so on. And, you know, looking at Association of African Private University, you know, what strategic role can we really play in Africa's digital education, you know, as a catalyst? And, you know, we can look at things like shared digital backbone for member universities or you know, universities that we work with. We do understand, for example, there is Galaxy Backbone, for example, in Kano. How are we collaborating with them, for example? Another backbone solution that can help university, you know, build stronger infrastructures. Looking at regional learning management systems, how can we partner amongst ourselves really to improve the digital infrastructure of one another? Cloud hosting collaborations. Can we actually even together, develop an IT maturity standards amongst ourselves, just so that we don't fall to, cybersecurity or risks that comes with that, bringing or putting together a cybersecurity compliance framework that we can really help build the ecosystem that we work in as well. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You can hear you.
We can
Yeah, we are following.
And of course, what I wanted to touch on as AAPU, can we also come together with cross-border innovation hubs? Professor Barry is in the Gambia, and also, we have universities, across Africa. Can we have a situation where through a platform where, we can have cross-border innovation, where we share knowledge amongst ourselves, and of course, build our infrastructure together for the future. And really, we try to look at some of the roadmaps that we can come up together, and it could be phased. For example, looking at the connectivities, as a foundation, how can we improve the connectivity of these students? The student portals that we use, in doing admissions, how can we really streamline this to reduce the cost? I believe universities that, for example, you do use admissions online significantly reduce the costs compared to the ones that do manually. How can we, together deploy learning management systems? And of course, this will then enable us to go into that stage of, optimization, cloud integration, digital systems, and security frameworks that I touched on in terms of cybersecurity standards that we can set amongst ourselves, just so that we don't fall victim. And we look at the more innovative ways of smarter campuses, tools, virtual labs, industry integration. And there's something, so it's just about really partnership, amongst ourselves for progress. No university can transform alone. Collaboration is really essential, and we can collaborate with, telecom companies, cloud service providers, education technology platforms, while some of them are local, and if they, and working with edtechs, I always say, work with some that are local because they understand and they can also do a little bit more modification that really align with our way of life. And also you can, get them to modernize it, and sometimes even language translation and all of those things, rather than just procuring a solution or signing up to a solution, someone not necessarily being in our environment. We can also collaborate with financial institutions in terms of the way we collect our revenue, and also in terms of, for example, there are platforms that students can pay their fees online, which then means that, better ways of collecting and managing revenues. There are also, of course, government agencies, some of which, they give scholarship and all of those things, partnering together with, and of course, international donors, but, it's just collaboration is really essential in terms of the way that we build our infrastructure. So our call really here in terms of the IT Directorate, the AAPU is, how do we really build tomorrow's university now? And an African private university can really leapfrog educational, from traditional education models by investing in digital-first infrastructures. If we build smart campuses today, we build innovative graduates tomorrow and competitive African economies. So let's work together. And in the AAPU, we can standardize, we can scale, we can strengthen each other's digital education platforms, and of course, Africa as a whole. So thank you very much for listening to me. Much appreciated. And that's the end of my slides.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me, please?
Yes,
Hello,
I
can you hear
can.
me? Okay, thank you so much for this contribution. And I would like to apologize for experiencing some technical problems here from our side. So moving forward, before I give the mic to the contributors, I would like to make this announcement. Please, for those who want to ask questions online, should start dropping their question. Please, in the chat box there, you can drop your question there. And then I would like to introduce or rather recognize the presence of an important personality here joining us physically. He's the Vice President Administration of this university. Dr. Habib Awais Abubakar is here with us. Thank you so much. So I would like to hand over the mic to our first contributor, Dr. Abdullahi Daina, who is the Coordinator, General Education, Bale Abacha American University of Nigeria. Thank you, sir. You have the mic.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Hello,
Yes, sir.
can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to contribute equally. This is a very well scintillating and exploring, discussion we had from the speakers and the discussants. In fact, we will have as discussants, we will equally have to facilitate discussion and debate around this particular topic, which the primary responsibility here is to provide insightful comments, as a kind of offer thoughtful critics, analysis, and perspective on the presented paper. But I'm not going to dwell on the critics, rather, but to focus on the analysis. To focus on the analysis. To focus on the analysis based on stimulating discussion, to stimulate the discussion by highlighting key issues in the perspective. In so doing, I would like to first of all, respect the Global Education Day, that is the World Education Day, by pointing at what education is all about. Education is the process of acquiring knowledge, skills, values, and habits through various methods such as teaching, training, research, and experiences. It is a lifelong process that helps individuals develop their critical thinking, problem solving and communication skills, enabling them to adapt to an ever-changing world. And this education can come in a formal, informal, and non-formal way. In the formal way, we have schools and universities, and informal way, we have study and online courses, while the non-formal, we have workshop and community programs. Through all these, one can be able to learn, and education is just a source for learning, where individual can gain knowledge to innovate, So in so doing, I will focus on this topic, by contributing on the topic, driving educational innovation and employability through African private universities. This requires multifaceted approach, and these are here to me. These are some key strategies which I summarize them together. We have the curriculum alignment, we have stakeholders embedding, we have innovation hubs, we have industry partnership, we have entrepreneurial education, and then the key benefits. Under the curriculum alignment, we develop curricula that resonate with industrial demands and local economic priorities, ensuring graduates possess relevant skills for the job market. That's on this. Then engage industry stakeholders to inform curriculum development and ensure course meets employer needs. Then on stakeholders embedding, there is need to foster partnership between universities and local organizations to provide mentorship, job leads, and referrals, connecting graduates with opportunities. Also need to establish joint research projects, community service initiatives, and dedicated liaison roles to facilitate collaboration. Then on Innovation Hub, create Innovation Hub that offer entrepreneurial support, real-world experience, and indigenous entrepreneurship practice, leading to unique employment opportunities. On this, I would like to align myself with the thought of the first speaker that talk about 4 pillars of innovation, the 4 C's. Based on context, culture, capability, and collaboration. This is truly a way forward, and a means of employability to enhance more employable situation to students and learners. Then there's also the 7 sources of innovation: unexpected incongruities, process needs, industry, and market changes based on demographic. Yes, I equally align myself with this, but the most important thing, is to go with the thinking of Professor Kemo Bari that talks about rethinking employability, because the old method is not working, based on the fact that there is need for us to consider applied skills and competence, adaptability, and lifelong learning, then entrepreneurship and self-employment, also resilient in informal and hybrid economics. Then we need to equally focus on the issue of work field, which I equally agree with that, because under this work field there is need to reduce the distant learning as a cost-cutting shortcut. Because distant learning, we have a lot of gaps in Africa, which we need to fill. And this gap needs classroom activities, that is teacher-learner relationship. These classroom activities, we need more of it, to at least refine our students, to train them, to modify their skills, so that we go with the thinking of the third speaker, Dr. Zubaida, that is to update our methods. And this updating our method goes with the fourth generation and fifth generation technology. Then we equally, I really have to say something about what Professor Zubaida talked about in terms of participation, access to employability in tertiary institutions, that women goes low in terms of access. That is a past, that is in the past. But presently, if you look at private universities, much emphasis on Nigeria, you find out that most of the employable students that have access to our private universities, 60 to 70% are going to be women. So there's a kind of step forward. In fact, a lot of improvement, in terms of the participation, So I equally have to align myself with the talk of Bosbaum that talk about the infrastructure to promote innovation and drives employability. Passing through a system is good in that one can learn to acquire and get all that he or she requires to gain employment. Establish joint research, community services initiatives, and dedicated liaison roles to facilitate collaboration. Then there is also need to create to have industry partnership, collaborate with industries to provide practical experience, internship, and job opportunities for students. Engage with local government and economic development agencies to identify key industries and sectors driving the regional economy. Then entrepreneurial education. We integrate entrepreneurship training across disciplines, equipping students with self-employment, knowledge, and skills. They make entrepreneurship a compulsory module taught by successful entrepreneurs. The key benefits here are enhancing graduate employability and job prospects, increased innovation and entrepreneurship, better alignment between education and industry needs, improved economic growth and development. Now, to further explore this topic, I will consider 3 questions for the speakers and all participants. How can African private universities measure the effectiveness of their innovation hubs and entrepreneurial program? 1. Number 2, what role can government policies play in supporting the growth of innovation hubs and entrepreneurial universities in Africa? Number 3, how can African private universities balance the need for academic rigor with the need for practical industry-relevant skills training? These are the 3 questions. In providing my solution to this problem, my last word goes with the word of Professor Adamu Gorzo that says the world is changing. You need to be innovative to survive. You need to innovate to change lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. coordinator at General Education, University of Nigeria. We really thank you for allowing us to tap from your depth of knowledge and your decades of experience in the field of education. Thank you so much, sir. The next contributor will be. So the next contributor will be Professor Imran Ahmad from Uganda. If Professor Imran is there, you have the mic.
Man.
Okay. So it's like Professor Imran has some issues with his network. So I would like to hand over the mic to Professor Raji Shakan from Ethiopia for his contribution. Professor Raji, you can unmute your mic. Thank you.
A warm greetings of the day to all the dignitaries and the participants of today's program. Can you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So today is the day of International Education Day 2026. So the day education plays a very important role in promoting the peace, sustainable development, and human dignity. So education is the main role for the building up of our soul, I mean to say. And education is a power to live unlimited within the limited world. So there is a scope for everybody who have been educated can have the limited, unlimited scope of living. I'm very much happy to be invited by the members of this committee. And I am from Ethiopia. My name is Dr. Rajashekar from India, working as associate professor in Department of Chemistry, Kebridahar University, Somali region, Ethiopia. So I've been working in Ethiopia since 10 years in two different regions. Before I worked in South Nation, and now I'm working in Somali region. So this is I'm from the chemistry background. I have done PhD from India. 20 years back, I have completed my PhD, and I can say that PhD, the education, global degree, we can say. So with this higher education, I mean to say that for the sake of education, today is International Education Day. Education can make anything, whatever we want to prefer. And education makes me to move to different countries, not only to Ethiopia. I have visited America, Egypt, Uganda, Ethiopia, and also the Kenya. So this is the main platform for the people who are educated. They can live unlimited with sharing their knowledge to different parts of the world. And I'm very much interested to work in Africa because I have been deserved to work in, committed to work in Africa to build the nation with my having the knowledge which I have gained from India, from Indian universities. I have done PhD from Andhra University, which is a reputed university from Andhra Pradesh, India, South India. So it's a good opportunity for me to serve African countries, African continent as Ethiopia, and I may have the chance maybe to go to some other parts of the African continent. So I have been awarded during my PhD degree. I have done a lot of work in the research from the Indian point of view. I have done the water samples analysis, metal analysis, sediment analysis, all these things, and I have got the appreciation certificates from the Ethiopian government also while I'm establishing the research laboratories containing the undergraduate programs and postgraduate programs, and also the research oriented laboratories in the Ethiopia. And it is I have done the community service also for the people who are working in college level. The teachers have been trained for 2 days yearly so that they can understand the importance of laboratory. Laboratory plays very important role in chemistry so that they can understand what is happening. Chemistry without laboratory is mystery, but chemistry with the laboratory creates history. And I mean to say that. So this is about my personal curriculum, and I would like to focus about the important aspect that is going on right now today. I was very much interested to hear all the different things that have been heard in this today's program. Today, many dignitaries, professors have been discussed about the educational system, employability concerns, and also innovation and employability, and infrastructural matters, and also the advanced tools and technology. Really, this plays very important role for the development of the country and the continent as well. So So education means we can see some of the aspects we can understand from internet. As today is International Education Day, we can understand the youth empowerment is very much important. Youth empowerment and inclusion education, and also the sustainable development is another important aspect we have to discuss, we have to understand. And global citizenship. Youth empowerment means the youth have to be co-creators of education. Not only the beneficiaries, they should be able to co-create, become the co-creators. And inclusive education means the equal accessibility should be provided for all the students, irrespective of their financial status. That is very, very important, because some students, as we have discussed in the previous from the other ideas, other professors' ideas, so equality is not found in some of the situations because of financial matters. Equality should be there for all the should be provided for all. And sustainable development means that is the main key drive for the development of the nation. And global citizenship provides the peace, global understanding, and tolerance through the education system. And we can see simply, I want to close within the short term only, because I was suddenly invited, and it is a pleasure for me to be participate in this program. And education, we can see the abbreviation simply education. E stands for enlightens personality. So without education, there is no enlightenment, we can understand. And D stands for determines the individuality. So education determines individuality. And U makes the union promotion. It promotes the unity among the education institutions and the society. And C stands for character build-up. If you want to build up our character, individuality, we have to go for education. And A stands for the authority inherits. When you have the education, when you have the higher qualified degree, you have the authority to rule over the country, to have the better ruling over the nations. And the T stands for testifies the personality. Education or the doctorate degree or any other higher degree testifies our individual personalities, we can say. And I stands for innocence. Integrity. We will be getting into the integrity in the nation. And O stands for owns all our respect. Education gives respect for our individual personalities. And also N stands for nobility, noble life. We can see the chemistry, there are noble gases. We have very important characteristic properties. So education brings us nobility, noble nature. So this is something about the as per the day of interest. And also Ethiopian University, I would like to say something about how the employment system has been taking place in Ethiopia. That is also very important. They have the industry partnerships. So Ethiopian government universities or the private universities, they have been having the collaboration with the industry partnerships. Some of the universities which are highly established in Ethiopia, they have the collaboration with the tech giants institutions or the companies like Google, Microsoft, and IBM to provide the students with hands-on experience and access to the cutting-edge resources. So industry partnership is very much seen in the Ethiopian government, Ethiopian universities. And also some of the universities, they have the collaboration with the local industries for internships and projects. That is also helping the students to get into the employability. And from this, the students have the benefits of getting into the experience, getting the different skills by going into these internships. And also university also will be able to improve the course relevance, and reputation will be increasing for the universities. And the second point, we can see incubators. So in Ethiopian university, we can see that incubators and accelerators, we can see some of the universities which are very much famous with a lot of experience, they are offering the mentorship, and also they are providing the funding resources that turns ideas into the realistic nature. So this is also another important point where the Ethiopian universities are following. They are offering the mentorship and funding as much as possible from the government. And practical learning, this is also very important. So university internships and also the industry sponsorships, they allocate the projects to equip the students so that they can develop the relevant skills by means of internships and scholarships from the different funding agencies. They have been getting the practical learning also. And entrepreneur program is also very important, as we know very much. And some of the universities, they are encouraging the students to create their own job by means of entrepreneurship. This is also playing a very important role in the Ethiopian universities. And the career development centers also, they have been encouraging the students into different aspects in different areas. So this is about my short representation, and I'm very much glad to be the participant of this program. And it's a great enthusiastic and also encouraging for me to collaborate and contribute more for the nation, not only in Ethiopia, for the different parts of continents of Africa, so that I can share my knowledge and I can contribute. And also I would like to tell you something, that I'm making some community service for the students, not only in Ethiopia, all over the world, by creating some channel. Some channel was also there, chemistry channel, so that all the experiments, all the classes of theory and the practicals will be done in the experiment, in the laboratory, practically, visually, and that can be exposed out for the different students in various for various communities, so that they can understand what is going on inside the laboratory. Exposure is also very important. Sometimes we will hide the things. Well, what we are doing, something which is great is not exposed outside. Exposure also plays very important role, so that the people can understand what is happening really inside the institutions. Some people, they will work hard more than the time, out of the time, but they cannot be recognized. But those things to be exposed outside, so that the people understand what the genuinity is going on in the institution, and also how the people are responding, how they are accepting. We should take the feedback from the students also, how the students will feel, and we should take the feedback from the faculty, how they'll feel for working in these various institutions. We should take some necessary measures to control all these things. So this is all about my today's contribution.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Rajesh Sudhakar, for this contribution. We really appreciate you for taking your time to make this wonderful contribution.
Yeah. Thank you so much, dear.
Before we move to the Q&A session, I would like to... Hello? Please, can you hear me? Professor Rajesh Sudhakar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much for your excellent contribution towards the discussion. We really appreciate you for taking your time to make this powerful contribution. So before moving to the Q&A session, there are so many important personalities from different universities across the globe presently online. We have people like Professor Ibikule Tijani from Morgan State University, United States of America. We have so many other personalities that cannot be mentioned because of the uniqueness of the platform we are operating on. All the personalities are duly acknowledged. So moving forward, I would like to read the questions, some of the questions that we have here. So the first question says, the first question says, how can African private universities drive educational innovation to improve employability and prepare graduates for careers in public health consultancy and health system leadership? And this question goes to the first speaker, Professor Sudhakar. If you are there, sir, and before you respond to the question, I would like to urge all the speakers to please try their best to keep the length of their responses below 1 minute, so that we can take as much questions as possible. Thank you so much.
Right, sir. So am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Right, thank you. I think the question which has been raised is improve employability and prepare graduates for careers in public health consultancy and health systems. As I told you, the important thing is the universities which are imparting these public health systems, they need to collaborate with the industry and see what are the latest technologies, latest equipments, and latest methodologies that they are practicing. Those things should be incorporated in the teaching so that the students are prepared. Hands-on experiences is a must for this kind of situation. Thank you. Yes, sir. You can ask the second.
Hello?
Yeah.
Why is my
Yes,
internet
we are
gone?
back. Yeah, we are back now.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for this response to this question. So the next question goes to Dr. Zubaida. And someone wants Dr. Zubaida to please repeat her explanation on the barrier of employability among women. Dr. Zubaida, if you can hear me, someone wants you to please repeat yourself on the barrier of employability among women. It's like Dr. Zubaida is not present online. So let me read the last question. The question says, what is the best method of teaching? Is it the teacher-centered method or the student-centered method? And this question, I think I will, if.
Oh, I can take that. I can take that one if you will permit.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I don't think there is any particular model that is always the best, depending on circumstances, because you can have a teacher-centered method when you are in a very advanced university lecture, you know, where the teacher is providing guidance and kind of the central in the provision of the knowledge, and the student at this moment is more of a researcher, more of a curious presence in the lecture. But you can also have the student-centered method. Mostly this works when it is in a much lower level, you know, where you are providing support for the student to develop their skills, develop their critical analytical skills, their curiosity. But here you are providing those skills, but you are focusing more on getting the student to be central in the learning process. And naturally, your focus will be more on getting the student more involved, more more prepared while they are exploring all that, their minds, their intellect, their curiosity. So you provide more time for them in the class process. Certainly, a teacher-centered model would be in more advanced university lectures where the student is now seen to be more of a researcher, more adequately equipped, with skills, and therefore provided a guide. The lecturer would just come, maybe give a synopsis of a topic, and now left the critical thinking process, the research process, to the student to do. So this one will be a more teacher-centered method. So I hope that this is helpful to the one asking the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Bari, for this intellectual response. And much as we wanted to take questions, we will have to stop here because of the time factor. And okay, so the last question, we are going to take the last question from our physical audience. You can come forward to ask a question.
My question is directed to Professor Sunusi, and my question is, why do universities without modern infrastructure fall behind?
You can ask him if he gets a question.
Sir, I hear him. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Why do universities without modern infrastructure fall behind? And my question is directed to Professor Sunusi.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. So I wouldn't necessarily say universities without modern infrastructure do fall behind, but we live in a globally connected world. We also need to produce graduates that can compete globally. So of course, it should be within the interest of not just private universities in Africa, but also government universities and, the ones with the, public-private connection, where we have to produce graduates that can compete with any other graduates. As Africans, we always complain that the Chinese are doing this, they're doing that, but we are just sitting in a classroom with a pen and paper. And it doesn't suggest that we are not intelligent, but rather, we need the infrastructure just so that, or we need to invest in infrastructure. We also need to find efficient ways of not just managing students and also curriculum, but also compete globally. And I think that's just the main narrative we are pushing here.
Okay, thank you so much, Engineer Muftau Sanusi. I would like to give the mic to one of our contributors here, who is the director of the Africa Institute for Solutions and Development, Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria. He is Dr. Salisu, and he will have 3 minutes for his contribution. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Hayatu. And then, ladies and gentlemen, those online and those of us here physically, my name is Dr. Salisu Muhammad. I'm the Executive Director of the Development Arm of Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria here in Kano. What we do is we try to blend the nexus between development and academics, such that the kind of students we produce will be those that are grounded and with the background in the culture and the sustainability of their environment, and they can give back to society without having to wait for anybody to employ them. Thank you very much. On this occasion of this World Education Day, that AAPU is spearheading, and this webinar, I want to thank the leading presenters and the contributors who I getting out shortly, but now I'm back. I would just like to mention 2 or 3 things as part of my own. And I listened very carefully to the lead presenter who mentioned some of the pillars of innovation, to include content, culture, capability, and collaboration. And I think that is very apt for the current situation that we find ourselves in Africa. And it has always been my own thinking that private universities, private tertiary institutions, not only in Nigeria, but in the whole of Africa and the world, are providing complementary services to a service that is incumbent on government to produce. Because this is the kind of social service that government cannot run away from. But it is very difficult for you to find where government at any level is supporting private endeavors in establishing universities, running them, private higher institutions. I think it is high time that those AAPU will now spearhead this, so that the government will understand the value and the services and the value addition that private individuals are rendering in providing the gap, in providing services that try to fill the gap that exists from the government services. And I also want to say that in terms of talking about this innovation and focusing on technology, you see, those of us in Africa, our major challenge is that the essential basic things of life that should have been taken for granted, water, electricity, healthcare, so that we can now focus our energies and redirect them towards solving other problems that take us forward, is not available. Because of that, we are lagging behind. And then the developed countries have already taken that for granted, and then that is the reason why they are ahead of us in terms of technology, innovation, models, and whatever. Now, before the last president in Nigeria, our late President Muhammad Buhari left office in 2023. By the end of his administration, he signed what is called the Nigeria Startup Act. That Startup Act provides 10 billion naira every year for the Startup Act, so that nano industries, entrepreneurs will use that fund to be able to now generate and innovate and create some of the services that will move this country forward. But the problem is that of all the 36 states in Nigeria, there's hardly up to 4 states that have even taken advantage. In fact, taking advantage means that they've not even done the simple basic necessities that would require them to access that fund, and then bring the youth and the young people who are bubbling with energies and the technology drive to test what they need to do. So I think that I agree with the lead presenter when he mentioned the example of Ukraine, where Ukraine has put out some $100,000 for anybody who can produce a drone that $200,000 for anybody who can produce a drone that will be able to down some of the missiles that Russia is shooting at them. And I think that brings us to the fact that necessity is always the mother of invention. But before then, we have seen the example of Iraq and Iran several years back, when there was blockade, there was sanction on Iran. Iran looked inwards, and only God knows the quantum of services that Iran is able now to produce for itself, to take itself to where they are today, and that any world power that talk to them, they can talk back immediately. So I think that we need the private universities to drive this concept so that we can help our countries to move forward, because for a very long time our governments have failed to do some simple basic necessities that will move this country forward. So for all the contributors, thank you very much for enlightening us at this stage. We hope to continue to do this kind of activities, share our knowledge, talk to ourselves, do our research, and then we'll see how our continent can move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Salisu. Thank you so much, Dr. Salisu, for this contribution. And then the last contributor would be the Vice President, Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria, Dr. Habib Awais Abubakar.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start by appreciating the Association of African Private Universities for joining the World Education Day, which has been celebrated. It's an annual celebration to showcase the significance of education in Africa and across the world. Of course, a lot has been said. The speakers have, made a lot of important contributions towards the development of education in the world. Sincerely speaking, I would like to enforce a serious challenge to African innovators, African entrepreneurs, African educators. Because when you look at the indices of education in Africa, it's really a source of concern. It's very alarming, and we need to do a lot, because one way of addressing some of the burning social problems affecting Africa is, of course, through education. We have to wipe illiteracy. We have to engage our youth into meaningful education, and of course, by bringing in this educational technology, this development, this innovation, that is one way of making our graduates. We have to migrate from, producing students or graduates who are, so obsessed with theory-based knowledge, because they don't have a place in the development of African society. They have to embrace modernization, they have to embrace innovation, and I think that is one way of, integrating this innovation into our curriculum, because most of the speakers have pointed out that without integration of this innovation, the African society will continue to retrogress. So we cannot compete with the digital economy. We cannot compete with what is going on around the world. and so our students will continue to be backward. So thank you very much for putting this together, and I believe it has a long impact. It has a significant impact for the viewers and the listeners, and it's a word of encouragement for the participants and the speakers. You have really addressed some of this problem as far as education, our education system is concerned. So I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
That has been Dr. Habib Awais Abubakar, the Vice President Administration, Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria. Thank you so much, sir, for this contribution. Before the last item on the agenda, there are so many questions by our participants online. There are so many comments which are too numerous to be discussed here because of the time factor. But we really appreciate you for taking your time to be with us and write all these questions and contribution. And be rest assured that the speaker will share the slides so you can go through it at your own leisure time and educate yourself more. Thank you so much for being with us. So the last item, or second to the last item on the agenda, is the closing remarks by the Secretary General of the Association of African Private Universities in the person of Professor Abubakar Sadiq Haruna. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, our uncle, for anchoring this program. And I want to use the opportunity on behalf of the President of the Association of African Private Universities to inform you that the association has a lot of things to share with you in our efforts to ensure that private universities are elevated and placed in a position that can favorably compete with global institutions. We have a lot of activities online for you. So this is just the beginning, and I want to use the opportunity to invite each one of you on board. On the 20th of February, we have a very fantastic program for you, and we'll get back to you and share the program event with you. So while I thank you for spending your time to be here, especially the lead speaker, keynote speaker, Professor Kota, the discussants, Professor Cherno, Omar, and Dr. Zubayda, alongside Engineer Mukhtar, and the other colleague from Ethiopia, Professor. Okay, yes, sir. And our physical participants here, I thank you all, and I hope that by the time we call you will also oblige to participate actively as you have done. So by 20th of February, and we hope to converge again to take up another discussion, which will of course vital interest in the situation. I invite you to log on to our website to also move along with activities on our website, www.aapu.org. You'll get a lot of things there, and you get so much updates on our website. We'll continue to communicate with you, and we hope that you also patronize our program and activities. Feel free to always ask questions when you have a problem or have an issue to ask. You can ask. Our staff are there to respond to you swiftly. Yeah. And if you have any contribution to make that will make the universities in Africa reposition to compete favorably with international institutions, you can pass it on through the website, and we'll get information. We'll be so glad to get such information. Thank you so much, and have a very good time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The last person to speak before we close is Engineer Bashir Garba, who is the head of International Office, and he is going to give us the vote of thanks But before he gives the vote of thanks, you can, and he's also the Director of Communications of the AAPU. But before I give the mic to him, all the participants should note that you can check back in a few days for the slide. And if you want the slide, you can visit our website, www.aapu.org. You can get a lot of materials there. So, Engineer Bashir, if you are there, you have the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Hakidin, for the wonderful answering of our events, both in AAPU and Mount. Distinguished guests, respected vice chancellors and rectors, eminent scholars, policy makers, global partners, industry stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Association of Private University AAPU, I have the honor and privilege to deliver this vote of thanks at the conclusion of today's webinar, marking World Education Day 2026. First and foremost, we express our appreciation to our keynote speakers and panelists for their insightful presentations and thoughtful contributions. Your perspectives have enriched our understanding of the evolving role of private university in advancing quality, relevance, and innovation in African higher education. We are deeply grateful to all participants who join us from across Africa and beyond. Your active engagement, questions, and shared experiences demonstrate a collective commitment to strengthening higher education as a catalyst for sustainable development on our continent. AAPU also extends special thanks to our development partners, collaborating institutions, and stakeholders whose continued support and commitment to private higher education remain vital to achieving our shared goals. Our appreciation equally goes to the organizing committee, moderators, technical and media teams whose professionalism, dedication, and behind-the-scenes efforts ensure the smooth and safe delivery of this webinar. We acknowledge with gratitude the leadership and members of AAPU whose vision continues to position the association as a credible continental platform for collaboration, advocacy, and institutional excellence among African private universities. As we commemorate World Education Day 2026, we thank all for standing with AAPU in promoting education that is inclusive, innovative, and impactful. We look forward to your continued engagement in our future programs, initiatives, and conferences. Once again, thank you for your time, your contributions, and our commitment to advancement of African higher education. Thank you, and God bless. See you on the 20th of February next month. Thank you.